The show don't tell rule is so ubiquitous in storytelling that I'm willing to bet the undiscovered tribes of Papua New Guinea have heard of it. And I think this rule is a writing truth, but sometimes telling your audience what's happening is actually okay. It can come in the form of narration, a joke, a natural emotional outburst from a character, a speech. There are lots of ways that writers tell their audience what's going on rather than using filmic language to show it. The tricky part is to make these things seem natural and for the exposition to simultaneously serve another purpose within the story. If the audience think they're being told something, either like they're too stupid to figure it out or the writer was just too lazy to weave it into the narrative in a more organic way, that's when you get a problem. Young Justice has a serious exposition problem post-season 1. Again, like all the problems this show has, it stems from its own ambition. It's trying to do so many things at once and is in such a rush to get to the next thing that it either doesn't finish what it's doing, or when it does deign to resolve anything, it just outright says to the audience what the resolution is. And I think I can break down the exposition problems of this show into 3 separate categories: the statement variety, the speech variety, and the dialogue variety. The speech ones are the most obnoxious, but at least they are the easiest thing to fit into the narrative considering the need for these characters to constantly explain to each other their totally secret need-to-know super smart never saw coming a mile off plans. The problem with these ones is the explanations to the audience should have been done throughout the story, not just dumped on us via a mission report or a disgruntled out-of-the-know team member. We'll get to those. This also bleeds into the world building and just the explanations of simply what is going on. But again, we'll get to those. I'm looking forward to talking about the speech variety as they are the easiest ones to make fun of. What I noticed while rewatching Young Justice for these videos, and oh wow, was that a treat, was that each of the 3 exposition problems seem to have a season they're most prevalent to. I've pondered it, and I have no idea why, but it certainly makes my job of structuring this video a lot easier. So I'm going to be talking about the statement problem in Season 2, the speech problem in Season 3, and the dialogue problem in Season 4. Not that every one of these problems isn't prevalent in every season to a degree, because, oh believe me, every single one of these episodes has at least some kind of exposition problem. The hardest thing when writing this review was choosing which examples I was going to talk about, because the alternative was doing pick-apart style videos of every episode, and there's no way that I'm doing that. I'm not doing that. I don't know. 5,000 subs by the end of the month and I'll do it. I'd like to see you try. Season 2, the statement problem. So it was pretty early on in my viewing of Season 2 that it initially clicked for me that this was going to be a problem. I already had an inkling because of the time jump, but I guess my optimism just got the better of me. The scene I'm talking about is in episode 2, where Beast Boy and Miss Martian are goofing off in the alien jungle.
Oh, what's that for? Nothing. Family prerogative.
Okay, that was a little janky, not something people tend to naturally say to others they've considered family for years, but, you know, you've got 5 years worth of information to give us. It's your own fault you've got 5 years worth of information to give us, but I'm more than happy to let that one go.
You can just give me another blood transfusion. Wonder what power I get this time. The power to listen to your adopted sister, maybe?
Just reminding you, we consider each other family now. I mean, I know you know that, but just in case anyone else was listening, and I know I said it to you literally 10 seconds ago, but again, just in case anyone missed it.
Up high, sis. Family prerogative. The power to listen to your adopted sister, maybe?
This was the instance when I first watched Season 2 that I started to feel like the quality was going to go downhill. That was one of the most unnatural things I had heard in my life. To that point, we still had Season 3 and 4 to get to. It is quickly followed by a throwaway exposition scene that tells us that Gar's mum is dead, but at least this one showed us instead of told us. But that kind of proves my point in that you can show, not tell, but it can still be lazily shown. It doesn't really matter if you tell or show something as long as you do it in a clever and natural way. But there were instances of this problem even earlier than this. In episode 1, right after the opening credits no less.
I don't care how many years you trained as Robin and then Nightwing. One of these days, you're mine, chum. I don't doubt it, Lagoon Boy.
I know introducing new characters into an established environment is hard. Once again, it's their own fault because they're the ones who insisted on that ridiculous time skip because they got bored of their characters and or didn't know how to resolve their arcs properly. Seriously, Season 2 Defenders, comments, please, because I still don't understand why people defend this season and say it's good. So yeah, introducing new characters into an established environment is hard, but this is the most unnatural way to do it. You used to be Robin and now you're Nightwing. I don't care about that notoriety because I'm going to get you next time. Yes, Lagoon Boy, I'm sure you will. Lagoon Boy. Seriously, why did you do that? What team members address each other like this in a casual sparring match? You could have told the audience Lagon's name by having McGann, his girlfriend, rush over to him shouting it in greeting, and have someone say his superhero name later on in a mission. But no. You have to explain to the audience immediately upon seeing the characters who they are and where they are in their lives, otherwise we'll get confused. We can wait for information. As a matter of fact, that is kind of what makes television interesting. I wonder what happened here. I guess I'll just have to keep watching to find out. Oh no, they've just told me. So I guess, for those of you who either didn't see the show or did see it and have forgotten what has happened, and seriously, I don't blame you, I guess I should do a quick recap. In Season 1, the Justice League were mind-controlled by Vandal Savage and they disappeared for a number of hours, and up until now, no one, not even themselves, knew what happened in that missing time. Now it has come to light that they committed serious crimes on foreign planets and the leaders of those planets are demanding intergalactic justice. And being the Justice League, it would be kind of off-brand, among other things, if they didn't turn themselves in. This is actually a pretty decent way to get the veteran heroes out of the way and push the younger ones into holding down the fort. But of course, this creates several needless exposition moments.
I don't like you levitating me to fake the power of flight.
Connor, you know we have to maintain the illusion that Superman, Manhunter, and the other Leaguers who went into space are still on Earth. We can't let our enemies know how short-handed the Justice League is right now.
Was there anything in that dialogue we couldn't have inferred? We know Connor can't fly, we know McGann can levitate things, and we know Superman isn't here. This isn't just lazy, clumsy exposition. This is lazy, clumsy exposition explaining something that didn't even need to be exposited. And of course, there's the common writing sin of explaining what is happening to a character who already knows what's going on. I.e., Artemis, who just faked her death to go undercover, Wally, who was in on it, Calder, who was in on it, all join Nightwing, who explains to all these people who were in on it exactly what's going on and what they're in on.
And still, only we four know the secret?
This secret and the other. That you've been under deep cover within Black Manta's organization since leaving the team.
How did the writing go downhill this fast? I know, I already more than covered this in my Superboy video and my first ever Young Justice video, but I just had to bring it up again. I just had to. Because this is the clearest example I can give of writers using exposition to get out of actually having to develop characters and character relationships. Superman ignored Superboy throughout the whole of Season 1. Superboy took this very hard as his whole being was modelled on this guy. Imagine being rejected by the person you were created to emulate. We saw Superboy struggle with this, and at the end of Season 1, Superman was just starting to get over himself, and the relationship wasn't even in its infancy, it was in its fetal stage. And now?
How long will you be gone? However long it takes to clear our names, Connell. But we will be back, little brother.
And don't point to Clark mourning Connor's death in Season 4, that is not development. If development is a car journey that goes from A to D, it doesn't go from A to B to C to D, it teleports from A to D. That is not good character development. This was one of the biggest parts of Connor's character, and it was just completely ignored. They were so uninterested in growing Connor up and growing him and Clark closer that the extent of their relationship development is entirely made up of...
Little brother.
What a tremendous, lazy waste. Season 3, The Speech Problem. There are a few instances of speech-related exposition, but I've decided to focus on specifically 2. Not only because they're the longest, 5 minutes and 3 minutes respectively, and I'm not talking a 5-minute scene with exposition, I'm talking a solid 5 minutes of exposition. But the real reason I chose these 2 is because despite their lengths, they are pretty much both dealing with the same plot point. And I think it just shows that they had this brilliant, investigative idea inside their head, but had absolutely no idea how to weave it into the narrative naturally, so they just stuck these 2 exposition scenes either side of it. The first one is the Bat family explaining their plan to Wonder Woman, who is off-world. And I'm going to break this scene down just so you can see how much exposition is thrown at you while barely pausing to take a breath, much less give you anything else. So off the bat, they just list who they've managed to capture.
We held on to Brick and captured Abracadabra, but
Sportsmaster got away with the other prisoner.
And one lazy technique of this kind of exposition is to use the out-of-the-know party. Because all you have to do to break up just one person talking at the audience, or at least disguise that that is what you're doing, you have the out-of-the-know character jump in with variations of, huh? So Batman says,
Over the last few weeks, we've managed to cripple the Branchwater chain of meta-human traffickers.
Branchwater?
And now we have the new exposition.
a so-called security firm owned by a series of shell companies that trace back to Stagg Industries and its majority shareholder, Simon Stagg.
And now...
Branchwater uses different methods, but is easily as bad as Bedlam. It's basically a metacrime covert ops unit that Stagg used for corporate espionage.
Or corporate warfare. Diana, we had identified 3 links in the Branchwater chain: acquisition, coercion, and utilization.
And now 3 separate characters, in this case Aqualad, Dick and Tim, all jump in with the step-by-step breakdown of the evil plan.
Link 1, acquisition. Instead of creating new metahuman, as Bedlam did, Sportsmaster liberated existing metas from prisons and transports. Clayface, Livewire, and Mist had all been taken while en route to Bel Red.
Link 2, coercion. Instead of Bedlam's control chips, Branchwater had Mad Hatter inject its newly liberated convicts with nanotech that forced them to follow Branchwater's commands. Okay, yeah, they're criminals, but they're criminals being victimized by Stagg.
Clayface, Livewire, and Mist were all discovered to have Hatter's nanotech in their systems.
Which would have been Brick's fate had he also been liberated.
Finally, Link 3, utilization. Cheshire ran missions for Branchwater using the controlled metas for whatever Stagg wanted or needed.
And we get another out-of-the-know in the form of, hey, there's that character we know. What's that character doing?
Cheshire, working with Sportsmaster? I thought she hated her father.
It's unclear if either you both were employed by the same organization.
And then another,
So the end result?
Well, for starters, no one's being coerced anymore. I found one of Hatter's control devices before his place blew up. Clayface, I forever release you from all external mental control of your actions.
So what now?
I used the same device to release Livewire and Mist after Nightwing's group left the Detroit airfield.
Clayface, Kadabra, Brick, and Moon are now in Bel Rev cells.
And Mr. Livewire?
They are minors, not hardened criminals. We believe they are salvageable and are seeking another solution for them both.
And what about the Stagg?
Hatter and I took care of him. We busted him for receiving stolen property. The Reach device Cheshire's group took from Star.
What does this Reach device do? Why did Stagg want it?
That's unclear. It was salvaged from a Reach warship down during the battle against the War World. Blue Beetle had previously translated the Reach text on the side of the machine, and all it says is metahuman failsafe.
We believe Stagg had grown paranoid. Because he was using metas against others, he feared someone else might use metas against him. He thought the machine would protect him against the scary meta world he himself was helping to create.
And it cost him, because I anonymously forwarded the evidence we gathered to the authorities. And right about now...
And where's the Reach device currently?
En route back to Dr. Stone at Star Labs, Detroit.
You've told us who's in custody. You've told us who the bad guy is. You've told us his plan step by step. You've told us how you foiled it. You told us how you got him arrested. You've told us about the device he was using. You've told us where the device is now. You've told us where everyone else who was involved has ended up. I'm glad you're done. You are done, right? You have got to be kidding me. You just gave us the entire synopsis of a story-long arc of a Batman show, which ironically I would much rather be watching, and you still have more to exposit. What else are you going to tell us? The exposition here is mostly tell, but they throw a little bit of show into the mix, even if it is just blatantly juxtaposed with the mission report. And lastly, we get what the out-of-the-know person knows, which is the structure of the team/league.
It's what we all agreed to, Diana. taking a page from the Light's own playbook.
We're taking a page out of our enemy's book. That's what we were doing. In case you didn't know, that's what we were doing. And we finish this off with a little of Batman saying how they're going to get around the truth if legalities ever become a concern. And then at 4 minutes and 31 seconds out of a 4 minute and 42 second scene, we get arguably the one thing that could be considered more than just exposition. The simple question of whether everyone is prepared to lie to keep this web spinning. My God. My God. That was almost a solid 5 minutes of nothing but characters just talking about the plot. And to repeat myself, ironically enough, it's the plot to a Batman show that I would much rather be watching than this. So do you guys need a break, or are you ready for speech number 2? This one comes courtesy of Black Lightning, and is almost an unbroken wall of speech. At least the other one tried to break it up by jumping from character to character. This one doesn't even bother. First, a recap of what we already know.
You're all working together! Mr. I Don't Join Teams Grayson takes me on a rogue mission to Granny's house, where we're rescued by the co-chair of the Justice League and a Bat Family drone!
Then, I've just realized something.
That's on me.
I can explain. Oh, I'm sure it is, and I'm sure you can. But it doesn't stop there. Or start there, for that matter.
Is this what happened? Is this what you did? It's not really a question.
Showing up busting men traffickers around the world, he explained it. Oh, so logical. It was intel began providing to us, to the team and to the league, but of course with the release, the six of you coordinate.
Oh, I've just realized something else.
When I quit the Justice League, wouldn't join Batman Inc. It did recruit people, Markovia, just to keep me in the fold. Oh, release me. Batman didn't blindside Aquaman. They both planned it in advance.
Is that what you did? This is what you did, isn't it? That's not really a question.
Created it, told me police to lie to every one of your fellow leaders. Why? So you can break the law with impunity. Let's dragging me into it.
Oh, I've just realized another thing.
Badass Calvin getting his badass kicked in Brooklyn, Maine. That was just to make the outsiders look good, wasn't it?
This is what happened. That's why you did that. That's not really a question either. Seriously, again, just listen to Black Lightning. Listen to what he's saying. It is all just him saying what Batman and this crew did. And I know it's meant to be a realization and emotional outburst, but it's just, you did this, you did this, you did this. Holy shit, you did this too. Oh my God, yes, that's why you did it, isn't it? Yes, okay, I realize that as well. This is why you did it. Is anyone else listening? Because I want to make sure that anyone in this place where the walls should be is getting it. Now we split off into groups, and the one with Beast Boy, Babs and Tim starts telling us nothing we don't already know and a comment about a relationship we don't see.
And Cassie doesn't know? You never told her? Dude, this is gonna end you two for good. You know that, right?
Then an explanation of the previous events explained to the out-of-the-know person.
I cannot believe this! The whole point of the Outsiders is to be in the open. Give kids something that's theirs.
This is the point of the Outsiders. I'm telling you what the point is. And Babs tells us, almost word for word, exactly what we learned in the Bat Family scene regarding what this group was doing and why they were doing it.
You wanted to go head-to-head with Lex and Granny in public. We were going head-to-head with the Light behind the scenes. And we did it in a way that allowed you to preserve your integrity. So now you're mad at us for it?
And what really kills me is this is all coming from people who can actually write. And I'm not only talking about the brilliance displayed in season 1, there are teeny tiny little sparks of brilliance just sprinkled in extremely conservatively throughout these latter 3 seasons. For example, after Black Lightning's exposition tantrum, we get a scene between Barbara and Bruce that explains a lot of the same stuff, but not only in a far more natural way, but in a way that tells us a lot about the characters and portrays their relationship and a little bit about the relationships within the rest of the team and how they relate to Batman's authority and how that relates to why this happens so easily under everyone's noses.
But have you noticed your little Illuminati society is made up entirely of former protégés? Protégés accustomed to following your orders without question.
Barbara is the perfect person to have this conversation with Bruce, as she is still his junior and follows his orders, but she was not raised by him like Dick and Tim, and as far as we know, not under his direct command as a child like Calder and McGann. She confronts him about the secrecy.
Would you want to be protected that way?
And he says,
I wouldn't need to be. The debate brings the mission to a grinding halt.
So you just decide for everyone? Wow, that's not patronizing at all.
Look how much this tells us about not only the plot, but Bruce, Barbara, their relationship, and the relationships of all the people involved in this, in a few lines. My god, that's good stuff! Instead of blah 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 plan, blah 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 lied, blah 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 Dick did this, blah 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 Calder did that, blah 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 did I miss anything, blah blah yes I did miss something, you did blah blah, then you did blah blah. Shut the hell up! Please. 3 freaking minutes! Which is better than 5, but still blazingly lazy. Just talking about the plot. I feel like this is going to drive me insane. Because nobody talks about this. I simply cannot grasp how people can stand being told the plot like this. Season 4, The Dialogue Problem. This one is pretty similar to the speech variety, and you can make an argument that some of these examples belong in either category, because as we've seen, writers often try to disguise the speech variety by breaking it up into different components and giving it to more than one character. And they do that so it's not so obvious, even though it still very much is. But I categorize them in this way because the ones I went through in Season 3 were clearly meant to be just blocks of speech thrown at us, no matter how disguised they were. Whereas the ones I'm going to talk about here, I think are genuine dialogue in the traditional sense. By that I mean dialogue, dia, 2 or more. So yeah, I guess these ones can actually be considered as proper expository dialogue, just bad examples of it. But once again, I think it's only fair to talk about a good example of this kind of exposition, not only because it contrasts how bad the other ones are, but again drives home how frustrating this is because the writers can actually write. And this is the fight between McGann and her sister. Yes, there is a lot of information thrown at us in this dialogue about the Martian religion, McGann's parents, her history with her sister, her history on Mars in general, the prejudice on Mars in general, but this is exactly how two sisters who have a difficult relationship and haven't seen each other in a while would blow up at each other in an emotionally charged situation. This feels very natural. Why isn't there more of this? I'm pretty sure the answer is because McGann is one of the very few characters the writers have stayed consistently interested in. Too bad they ruin it with some speech variety exposition where McGann's mum literally has to spell out the trans allegory for us, but we're done with the speeches. The next one is going to be a very quick one, but I just had to put it in there because I don't even have to do any commentary on this one, I'm just gonna let it play.
This Kaiserfloh is known as the Kaiserfloh. On New Genesis, Kaiserfloh was discovered to possess sentience. Green Lantern Voyager and Green Lantern Kilowog removed Kaiserfloh to Oa, where Green Lantern Soren Creature discovered that Kaiserfloh's apocalyptic exoshell contains Kaiserfloh's living human brain.
Okay, moving on. I almost put this next one in the speech variety, but I do think it is structured more like dialogue, despite the fact that Superboy is not responding here. But Phantom Girl is not speeching at him like a mission report or an emotional outburst. She is quite clearly talking to him. So anyway.
My name is Chino Basso, Phantom Girl. I'm a member of the Legion. Never mind, you won't know it. But the thing is, I can phase through matter, like any motion species. Except I do it by phasing between your dimension and my own dimensional pixel. I've been putting it together, and I think that's how we found up here. Back on Mars, my friends and I tried to protect you. So when you were about to die in an explosion.
Oh my god, stop explaining! Stop explaining!
Think of this circle as Mars, and this one is Pixel. I'm guessing the Phantom Zone is a transdimensional buffer between the two. Well, not between the two planets, but the two dimensions that contain those planets.
Oh god, diagrams? We need diagrams now?
I know it's confusing, but I'll explain it all later.
I know it's confusing, but I'll explain it all later.
No, I think you pretty much explained everything. Who you are, how you got here, how Superboy got here, how he survived the lava, how your powers work, how dimensional travel works, what the Phantom Zone is. I think you've explained plenty.
You're fighting me. Your willpower's like an anchor tying us to the zone.
Are you finished? She's not finished.
Next clip. And I'm gonna make this the last one because if I haven't driven my point home by now, I never will. And this one is probably the purest expression of the dialogue exposition problem I have ever seen. And it's this ridiculously unnatural back and forth between McGann and Dick here that makes this one so funny. And to ram this one home in spectacular fashion, let's have a counter for how much information McGann and Dick throw at us here.
That's nothing. My own illusion. I got slapped by a rogue Kryptonian. Might have killed me, but I rolled with it.
And cut yourself to fake an injury.
Forehead bleeds look bad, but aren't. It's an old pro wrestling trick.
Then you slowed your pulse to fake your death.
An old Batman trick.
But how is it you're here in the first place?
Calder, Artemis, Raquel, Zatanna, and I were in a place called the Phantom Zone.
Searching for Connor, and you followed the Kryptonian's boom tube to Superman's fortress.
We were attacked by the Emerald Empress and the Eye of Ekron.
Saturn Girl sent a last-second psychic warning. Superman and Orion rushed forward to take a brunt of the blast, giving Saturn Girl and I the chance to create the illusion we saw.
Faking your deaths, our best.
Orion, Lightning, and Forager were knocked unconscious.
While the rest of you played possum.
Except Superman, who stood up to sell the illusion.
Only to be taken down by the Mahal Kryptonite I stupidly brought to the zone.
My brother forced a mummy box and a horribly abused medikit named Danny Chase to open a boom tube to take them all to Metropolis.
Metropolis? Tigress, Zatanna, and Calder just radioed me from there.
What about Rocket?
She didn't make it.
Please, no more splaining!
And this isn't even touching upon the emotional whiplash this scene has for the two characters. Just listen to the change in her tone here. How unnatural does this sound?
What about Rocket? It just gets worse and worse. But we'll have to mourn Raquel later.
But that's just another rabbit hole, and I am done. You don't need to be a writer to know that these are things that should be set up throughout the narrative. Hints should be placed, setup and payoff should be employed. You can't just do stuff and then have the characters explain what they've done and why they've done it. That is bad writing. Young Justice hasn't had good writing since season 1, and I'm pretty much through with it. I have 2 more Young Justice videos to do, one on Dick Grayson, and one is going to be an amalgamation of many characters for whom the biggest problem is that there isn't much to talk about because they were just dropped. I was going to leave this one for last, but after watching the entirety of Young Justice for these videos and spending hours upon hours of just being told the plot of what I'm watching, I don't know how anyone can stand it. This is hands down the worst exposited show I have ever seen. Young Justice fails at exposition.